Okay. Good afternoon once again. And today our topic is e-governance and citizen participation. It's too important actually, no? Because again, as what we mentioned earlier, no, e-governance is not just about bringing government service online. It's about making governance more participatory and democratic, no? Through digital platforms, our citizens can now voice their opinions, no? Monitor government activities and directly engage with public institutions. And this shift from passive recipients to active participants transform how societies are governed, making policies more people-centered. In our country, initiative like Freedom of Information Portal and e-participation mechanism aims to increase transparency and citizen engagement. Like say for example, sa foi.gov.ph platforms, we allowed to request information from government agency helping fight corruption and build trust. No, another example is the Open Data Philippines portal, which provides raw government data to encourage research, innovation, and accountability. Citizen participation doesn't only happen at the national level. In many barangays kasi, local government uses Facebook pages or group chats to inform residents about projects, vaccination schedule, or disaster preparedness plan. While informal, these platforms represent a form of digital community governance. In Marawi City, no, for instance, post-conflict rehabilitation updates are often shared online, giving displaced citizens a voice in rebuilding efforts. No, internationally, no, so Estonia offers a powerful example of how e-governance enhances democratic participation. Citizen can vote online sa kanila, no, submit legislative proposal. Kahit ikaw po ay citizen, ano, pwede kang mag-propose ng legislative, ano, and track the progress of government projects through platforms like eParticipant.ee, no? And this innovation ensures that the voice of Estonians are heard not just during election but throughout the policy making process, and their success is anchored in widespread digital literacy and trust in secure online system. And to give us more details about the topic, let us all welcome our presenter. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Doc. Good afternoon, everyone. My topic is about governance and citizen participation. So, these are my learning intended outcomes. I'll move further. And the 1987 Constitution mandates the the citizens' participation that covers Article 2, Article 10, and 12 that emphasize promotion and protection of the rights of the people as well as the rights of civil society group and platforms for reasonable participation at all levels of social, political, and economic decision making. So these are the topics that we keep on discussing about transparency, and accountability and the rights of people or the citizen of this country. Okay, so in addition to that, the Local Government Code of 1991 and Yearly General Appropriation Act both providing areas and policies that are suited for the citizen management engagement is in government at the local level. So these are the framework of this local governance, in relation to the participation or engagement of the citizen. Okay, so despite these legal frameworks, laws and policies based on a number of civil society and government stakeholders, the outcomes in citizen engagement are not really enough, or adequate and documented as well as measured. So in this regard, the both local and national levels was being found out that there are gaps in the issuance of policies and effective implementation, such as the mechanism for tracking citizen participation in national and local governance. The use of technology in governance is not being used to its full potential, particularly in area wherein citizen engagement is very vital. In addition, there is a pressing need to increase the availability of communication channels through which resident can be updated on the situation of local governance in their local governments, because it is of course very known to us that there are areas wherein have limited access to connection, as well as limited also technology wherein they are being used. Okay, so let's go further. The Department of Interior and Local Government, and Department of Budget and Management are responsible for implementing the program through the following. So you have the publication and execution of national policy on a particular participation of civil society in governance. Okay, so we have also the implementation of civic technology for governance, innovation through the use of citizens' feedback system, wherein they could be able to determine whether there are things going to be improved with regards to the application or implementation of particular policies. And another one is town hall meetings on all three levels. So you have regional, provincial, and municipal. Likewise, monitor and direct the activities of local governments, that is to encourage the formation and ongoing work of people and governmental groups. So they are the one monitoring the program, implementation of the program. Okay, so to ensure the achievement of the government goals, and priorities, for being or for making use of electronic transaction with regards to the businesses of the government, we have the PGC Resolution Number 1 S 2019. The following are considered. So ensuring that a portion of both, the national and local budget is designated to promote the participation of people and members of civil society in a variety of activities relative to governance. Okay, so the publication of national policy on the participation of civil society in governance, and you have ensuring that the national government agency and LGU comply with the relevant provisions of current legislation relating to the engagement of the people. So this is really very, what you call this one? There's strict, mandates of the law that there will be an engagement of the citizen. Okay, so the incorporation of civic technology initiative into administration of national and local government. So, and that is the use of what technology, but of course, because of limitation of budget, we are trying to update this technology in the government. Here in Quezon City, we are really very happy because even I'm here in our house, I could easily renew the business permit of the cooperative. So there's no need for me to go there and comply with the requirements, but I can make it here with my computer. Okay, so of course, the main purpose for this e-governance is for transparency, with all the services offered by the government. So, and of course, it requires also accountability. So this transparency and accountability in local government is done through the DILGs of what I mentioned and the DBM, no? Department Management Budget programs and activities. Okay, so the goals in this transparency with regards to the local budget is that issuing and implementing a national policy on civil society participation in the governance. So it could not be just set aside, no? Because it is mandated in the Constitution. Okay, implementing a citizen feedback system for governance innovation. Holding town hall meetings at the regional, provincial, municipal levels, and supervising local governments in encouraging the establishment and operation of people's and non-governmental organization. So it's not only mandated, no, but it is as well clearly stated that that's really the main goals, no, of this e-governance. That is to avoid corruption based on what had been stated by my previous co-reporters. Okay, so one of it is holding open community forums, no, wherein it promote the formation and functioning of people's and non-governmental organization at the local level while maintaining oversight from the central government. Okay, so another one is development live is a citizen feedback system that will aid the use of civic technology for innovations in government. Okay, so making sure that all people, regardless of gender, can participate in commitment activities. So everyone is required, no one is exempted. No? Hoping, no? And that these things are being in practice in reality because of some limitation, of course, no? So you have development live, citizen-led monitoring cooperation established with the ILG and TAPLG. Yeah. So I'm not in the government sector, so I keep on researching about this TAPLG. Maybe somebody could help me. Okay. So building skills in the DivLive-based citizen monitoring, and the DivLive platform has been put into use for real-world citizen monitoring of DILG, LGU projects in 18 different municipalities. So, so this platform and this kind of platform, everyone could look into what's the updates, what's on the ongoing projects of the government. So 18 different municipalities. Okay, so there are types of participation in e-governance. So we have the crowdsourcing and the citizen feedback mechanism, and had been already mentioned by the previous reporters. No? So crowdsourcing is the process of requesting concepts, answers, or contribution from a large number of individuals, most frequently through the use of digital platforms. So this is very easy, no? Because whatever your suggestions, your answers, no, your recommendation could be easily directed to the government, no? And of course, there are different types of application of crowdsourcing that may be found in the e-governance. No? So idea generation, no? When they would like to collect suggestions, no? Or answers from the people, problem solving, when there's a difficult task to be resolved, so they can be able to ask to the community, no, to the citizen, and data collection process, which is very vital in their decision making and volunteer engagement, no. So in case of disaster, no, wherein I need volunteers to work on for that project. Okay, so the next one is the citizens feedback mechanism, no, refers to the channels that give citizens the opportunity to express their feedback, no, complaints, comments about policy, services, or operation of the government. So you'll not just be soliciting, no, the opinions, the answers to the problem, no, but as well as for these particular aspects. So example is the online feedback form, no. I have seen yung merong what we call by this one, wherein you'll just picture it and you can be able to come up with your feedback, no. Like for example, they are asking to have a what we call by this one, yung comments or suggestion. That is what we call the evaluation, huh? Evaluation of their services. Okay, so social media platform as well, no? And petitions when there's problem, no? When you would like to, when you think you are the aggrieved party, when there's something wrong, no? With regards to the services being offered to you, complaint management system, and you have what we call the virtual town halls and meetings. Okay, so these are the benefits of crowdsourcing, no? And citizen feedback mechanism. So as what we had mentioned, these are the collection of the ideas, no? Answers and contribution as part of the decision making of the government, no? So that they could be able to come up with what is really better for the majority, no? What is needed by the citizen, no? Okay, so citizen and citizen feedback mechanism, that is to improve their services. So we have what we call the citizen empowerment, wherein allowed to give their opinions, suggestions, comments through feedback mechanism and crowdsourcing. We have also the data-driven decision making, wherein solicit input from citizens, no, enhance services. That is through feedback from citizens that helps the government to improve their services, no, that are centered to their needs, based on their needs. And the other one is the transparency and accountability, no? So transparency, openness in government actions, decisions, information, and ensuring public access to relevant data about the expenditures and others, no, projects that they are doing, and of course accountable, no? So being as a official, government official, you are accountable or responsible for your actions and decisions, no? And of course, there's always a consequences of that. Okay, and the next one is innovation and creativity, no? So when you speak of innovation, the process of introducing new ideas, no, methods, or technology, that is to lighten, no? To ease the difficulties of the citizens, no? Wherein availing of the services or benefits from the government. Okay, and that is also, of course, to the use of technology and creativity, no? So to think outside the box in order that it will lessen, no, the burdens of the citizen. So you should not only look at within your perimeter, but you go beyond what is the best, no, for the majority. Okay, to improve something, no, or to solve a problem. That when you solve it, it is really a solution that it will no longer occur. No? So hindi lang tapal-tapal, but it's really a real solution. No? Okay, so one example for this one example of this innovative, no, is online payment, no, to government services. Okay, so as mentioned, we have also the GCash, no, the PayMaya, and others, no, wherein we are using in order to pay our business permit or licenses, other licenses. Okay, so of course, there are also challenges in ensuring meaningful participation in with regards to the citizen, no? Citizen participation, were mentioned also by some of my co-reporters about this digital divide, no? Okay, wherein not all have an access with the technology, no? Literacy limited, no? That's why it is really vital that there's a what we call the uh, comprehensive and continuous education, no? With regards to the use of the technology. So regardless of whoever is that, no? Because we go into this online government and language barriers, no? So since we belong to different regions, we have how many dialects? More than 1,000. And therefore, this hinders the understanding on the part of other persons. And technology accessibility, no, not all could have an access with the technology, and lack of awareness, no, with regards to the use of technology. Another one is tokenism, no, online. This is a platform wherein you can be able to suggest budget, no, in the local government. And number 7 is limited impact on decision making. So even though you keep on what you call by this one, keep on suggesting, no, but sometimes your suggestion is not carried out because the government knows what will be the problem wherein they need to prioritize. So they're just collecting your suggestions, recommendations, no, uh, in order to in order for us to take part with the decision making. But at the end of the day, they are the one that will consider which one is the priority, no? Which one is beneficial to the majority. Okay, and of course, political interference, no, and the time constraint, fear of reprisal, no? What is this, no? Others afraid to give negative comments. Dahil masasabi yan na, what you call by this one, markado ka na. Okay. So, and uneven representation. So, there's no equal representation, like for example, between male and female, no? With regards to the participation, no, of these different activities were presented by the DILG and the DBM. Okay, so let's go further. So we have here the e-governance initiative for enhanced participation. So to expand the scope of DevLive, to solicit feedback not only on major the ILG funded projects, but also the NGA and locally funded project, no? Okay, and link DivLive with local government data sets and disclosure mechanism such as FDP portal, no? To contextualize data with broader financial context. So the integrated risk management suggests the following be into account by the ILG and DBF. Okay, so number one is that provide opportunities for public input and consultation with civil society, while the national policy on civil society participation in governance is developed. No? That is to have owning, no? Of the projects, of the decision, so that everyone will follow it, no, and will abide with what is being implemented by the government. Okay, letter B. Local government should seek CSO, that is Civil Service Office, input on the processes through which they can approve, no, and assist the civil service offices. The CSOS may offer advice and guidance on how to overcome problems with registration, operation, and finance. Okay, make that registration of CSOS and other relevant processes are open and public in local government units. Okay, so make an effort to reach out to and include members of underrepresented groups in town hall discussion and offer confidential feedback channels for those who feel uncomfortable speaking in public. So this is really very, what they call by this one, I think there's an inclusive, no, with regards to the opinions, suggestions, and recommendation, because it is well represented, no? So if you don't like to speak in public, you have this what we call the feedback channel, no? And if you belong from minority, you have this, you are also included, no, with regards to town hall discussions. So everyone is involved. Okay, this is very realistic, no? And therefore everyone is abiding on or conforming with the different projects of the government. Okay, gather information, one who attended town hall meetings and share it openly. Okay, so engaging citizens through digital platforms. So these are the different platforms, no? Digital platforms. You have the online surveys, no, and tools. You have also the social management engagement. You have the online consultation, crowdsourcing ideas, no? When had been mentioned by my co-reporters. You have the citizen feedback systems, wherein I've just mentioned, online town hall meeting, mobile apps, no, for service delivery, and social media campaign. You have the petitions on online complaint management system, gamification for civic engagement, so rewards, no? So rewards for the individuals who are in participating for the different surveys, no, or projects and activities of the government, and virtual town halls and webinars. Okay, so evaluating the effectiveness of citizen participation in e-governance. So there are key approaches and indicators. So number one, define clear objectives and evaluation criteria, no? So to begin, define what constitutes effective participation. So this may include improved transparency, responsiveness, policy influence, and service delivery. So establishing clear key performance indicators, no, that help systematic evaluation. Okay, so in addition, we have also the measure participation levels. So you have quantitative data helps determine the frequency of participation. So that involves research in this particular aspect to determine how many are really participating, number of users in digital platforms, participation rates across demographics, across ages, frequency of contributions, comments, feedbacks, reports. These metrics help evaluate inclusiveness and accessibility because it involves everyone. Okay, so let's continue. Assess quality of participation. Okay, so you will not only getting the number, but there will be also, you are also assessing the quality of participation. So to assess how meaningful participation includes, okay, whether citizens' input is taken seriously into consideration. If policies or decisions are influenced by the public input, transparency in decision-making processes, It says effective participation must be deliberative and consequential, not merely symbolic. So, what do you mean when you speak of symbolic? No, that you just get their participation, just for purposes of having it, but actually, it is their input is not really is not really the outcome, of what is expected. Okay, and number 4, evaluate outcomes and impact, assess the tangible effects of citizen participation. There is an impact to the project, being implemented by the local government and the DBM. Public services improve. Is there increased satisfaction or trust in the government? Are decisions more aligned with citizen needs? Okay, so impact evaluation links participation to governance outcomes should be considered as well. So in order to take effect, the programs and activities of the government aligned with the electronic governance. Okay, use surveys and feedback mechanisms. Citizen feedback is essential in determining satisfaction and perceptions through online surveys, focus group discussion, and feedback ratings on government portals. So this should be taken seriously and looking at whether it is really working, or not. Such methods offer qualitative insights into users' experiences. Okay, so next is evaluate platform usability and accessibility. Okay, so the technical quality and accessibility of a governance platform itself must be assessed, Interface usability, is it simple? Is it easy for them to use? Mobile friendliness, accessibility for marginalized groups, or maybe for those who are really capable of, or well off. So this should be also considered. Okay, barriers to access, like digital divide, language, literacy, reduce effectiveness. So let's go further. So ethical consideration in citizen participation. No? So citizen participation in e-governance introduces numerous ethical considerations that must be carefully addressed to ensure inclusivity, no? Transparency, and trustworthiness. So everyone must be involved. Everyone's decisions and opinions, suggestions must be considered. It's not only for few, but for the majority, no? Across ages, no? Or demographic profile to consider the effectiveness of these programs. So the digital nature of e-governance also raises new ethical challenges related to data privacy, no? As mentioned by Mamira in her report, equity and representation as well. Informed consent and transparency, citizens must be fully informed about how data, no, must be fully considered on how data, no, opinions and participation will be used. So governments are ethically obliged to provide clear terms of use, data, disclose data collection, and handling practices to avoid manipulation or coercion. No? Transparency is fundamental to ethical digital governance as it builds public trust and encourages engagement. Okay. Number two, privacy and data protection. E-governance participation, no? Or citizens' participation often requires personal information. No? Ethical use includes adhering to data protection laws. For example, the General Protection Regulation and implementing cyber security safeguards. Ensuring data is anonymized when needed and protecting individual privacy is the cornerstone of trust in a governance platform wherein it should be considered, no? As mentioned by Mamira, they have their what we call the training, no, to data privacy, which is very vital. Okay. And in conclusion, e-governance has emerged as a powerful tool, no, for enhancing transparency, efficiency, and accountability in public administration, because that is mandated under the law. No? By leveraging digital technologies, governments are now more capable of delivering services effectively, like here in Quezon City. You just sit down and use your laptop at your fingertips. You can transact business. No? Okay. And engaging with citizens in meaningful ways. Citizen participation facilitated through e-governance platforms empowers individuals to voice out their opinions, access information, and play an active role, no, in the decision-making processes. Yeah, but of course, there's certain limitation. No? Like for example, in the provinces, no, they are not yet fully utilize this technology. However, to fully realize its potential, there must be continued investment in digital infrastructure, which when our government are also trying their best to do, no? In different regions, different offices in the government. And of course, digital literacy, wherein it is very vital in order that the effectiveness of services of the government will be delivered as expected. Because there are some who are no longer interested in the digital literacy. And inclusive policies that ensure no citizen is left behind. So even you are not government employees, it is mandated that everyone should know in the use of technology. No one is left behind, because if there's no one who knows how to utilize this technology on the part of the citizen, then it will not also be fully attained its goals and objectives. So the success of e-governance depends on collaborative effort between the government and the people it serves. So we have a great role to perform. So it's not only the government, but as well as the citizens of this country. Thank you very much, sir. And again, good afternoon.